Yeah, this is the famous Matt Damon clip.
In acting, there isn't job security, right? There's an incentive to work hard and be a better actor because you want to have a job. So why isn't it like that for teachers?
You think job insecurity is what makes me work hard?
Well, you have an incentive to work harder, but if there's job security,
be an actor. It's not an incentive. That's the thing. See, you take this MBA style thinking, right? It's the problem with ed policy right now. There's this intrinsically paternalistic view of problems that are much more complex than that. It's like saying a teacher is going to get lazy when they have tenure. A teacher wants to teach. I mean, why else would you take a salary and really long hours and do that job unless you really love to do it?
Oh my god! Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
There are 10% that are bad, though. 10% of teachers are bad.
Where'd you get that number?
I don't know. 10% of people in any profession maybe should think of something else. Right?
Well, okay, but I mean, maybe you're a cameraman. I don't know.
Maybe you're a cameraman. I don't know. Yeah. Guy immediately on the spot. Reason is a libertarian think tank, by the way, for those of you who don't know. But libertarian cameraman on the spot makes up a fact. Classic. Okay. And then like that fact is also completely irrelevant to the point of contention here. Okay. That fact is utterly irrelevant. What do you mean 10% of teachers are bad? Let's say 10% of teachers are bad. I don't even know what the standards are for bad, right? But does that mean that they should not be paid? Like, what are we talking about? Every goddamn person in this country is just like so predisposed with maxing out efficiency, not realizing that they themselves are also probably bad on certain aspects of their job. Working at a public school is so incredibly scary. I dealt with shooter threats at least once a month and had to do 4 different jobs on minimum wage. I was a substitute secretary and was therefore a nurse, a substitute detention teacher, receptionist, and crossing guard on minimum wage. There are so many things to do and you're paid barely enough to survive. Here in Denmark, we get paid to go to school when we turn 18, and the same on uni. We get even paid more money if we continue there. Like I'm 20 and I have my own apartment, live alone, and have a cat and got no work. I can live like this because I get paid going to school. They're pooping on us. Okay, Denmark, watch out. We're coming for you anyway, okay? Don't worry. You'll get to experience that sweet, delicious American freedom soon, okay? This is unironically the American attitude, by the way, which is that they have nicer things than us because they have some degree of socialization, okay, and some social safety nets. So we must take that away by force. That's it. We're just gonna, our job here is to f everything up because we couldn't cut it. We couldn't be normal. Sounds like they need better propaganda.
Do you have an executive order, sir, or do you need to work with Congress?
Well, there are some people that say I could. I think I'd work with Congress. I think we'd have to work with the teachers union because the teachers union is the only one that's opposed to it. Nobody else would want to hold them back. Look, we have to tell the teachers union, we're rated last in the world in education of the top 40. We're rated last. We were 38, now we're 40. We went to 39, we went to 40, we're 37, but we're at 40 now. The thing just came out.
I wonder why it got worse. You want your teachers to be well funded and not burdened by financial troubles, dude. You want them to have the best benefits. These are the guardians that are taking care of our children. These are the people that are shaping the next generation of Americans. They have a profoundly important job. I can't believe I have to sit here and say these things that should be the most obvious things on the planet, okay? It is alarming that I even have to make an argument for it, and yet I do consistently, and people still don't understand. They have a profoundly important duty, okay? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
So Biden, remember?
Secretary Rubio announced a deal this week that would allow potentially Americans to be put in a different. Is that something you're looking to do?
No, I didn't know that he said yet, but if he did, it's fine. Yeah, we have hard criminals, horrible people. You see him pushing people into subways. The train is coming last week.
In my experience, teachers just sit on their ass rather than teach effectively. It's one of the reasons for poor performance in children in school. Lack of interest comes from a lack of passion from teacher. I can't. I thought this community was older, man. I can't have this conversation with like mostly 14-year-olds. I'm sorry. It's just like, I know someone who's a cop. His dad got sick and they were deemed responsible for their dad and granted leave from the police force in order to act as a caregiver. It's been 2 years and he still gets paid. A teacher would have been fired. Yeah. Bro, you got 0.9 GPA high schoolers in your chat in general. Like there are many, I mean, judging passion is so stupid. I can't do this. Like, I don't know. I don't know what your individual experience is with your one teacher who's just not passionate. Okay. What I'm simply stating is if you want the best possible people for the job, okay, you're going to have to pay better. That's it. Everybody understands this. Everybody deep down inside understands this reality. All right. That's it. That's all I'm saying is you got to teach, you got to pay better. You got to make sure that teachers have better benefits and you will unironically have the next generation get better education overall. Okay. Not to say that like there aren't any bad teachers right now. It doesn't matter that there are bad teachers right now. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't fucking matter at all. There are people who do a bad job in every profession. Okay.
Guy walking around and sees somebody waiting for the train. Train's coming 40 miles an hour, and he gets pushed into the subway.
Also, the other part about this like subway murder stuff is like put some gates on the subways, man. But that's socialism. That's communism. You know, can't do that. Hey guys, we can't actually put gates on the subways. We can't do that. Something that virtually exists in every country. Okay. Can't do that. Okay. We have to abolish public transit instead. Public infrastructure is woke. If you want teachers to get paid better, then private education is the only option. Private education. No, I want the standard of benefits and job security to be raised. I want the standards in job security to be raised for public education to reach the level of private education. That's so stupid. You're literally not understanding the argument I'm making. The argument I'm making is that we have to make sure that public education is better overall. That's the whole point. Is too much government funding? Oh my God. Taxpayers shouldn't take that burden. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, well then you'll always sit around wondering why Norway has a better educational outcome than the United States of America, okay? You'll just consistently wonder why, oh why, do these other countries have significantly better educational outcomes than the United States of America? There you go. If you're asking me why that is the case, and I'm telling you why that is the case, and I'm telling you what the solution is, and you go and say, well, the solution is too costly for the taxpayer, then okay, so you just don't have any interest in fixing it. America's like a sinking ship, and there are just too many holes to plug. And a lot of the issues actually are related to one another. A lot of issues actually contribute to the broader problem in general. You try to plug one hole, there's another hole that pops up right above it. Try to plug that, there's a third. The entire mentality behind I'm not raising my taxes for you, unironically also stems from the reality that no one believes that the government is ever going to do right by them. That's it. How do you think we got there? How do you think this attitude manifested? Do you see what I'm saying? We got here because of what I was describing. We got here where there's no confidence. Where there's no confidence whatsoever in the government actually doing right by the population. So it's much easier to advocate for starving it further. If you don't believe the government is actually giving you anything, and most of that money is, in your mind, I don't know, going to baby murder machines and subsidizing industries that don't even actually adjust prices in times of need for you, okay? Then yeah, you're like, why am I paying taxes anyway? That's why so many Americans are anti-tax in general. Nobody likes to pay taxes, but at least in other countries, in like competent social democracies, which are also being undermined by the same same influence of capital, the parasitic leech nature of capital owners, okay? At least they have an understanding that like, oh, well, these taxes are going to social safety nets, and I think it's valuable to pay into it because who knows what might happen to me one day. And I would rather not be like America. Okay. That's the way that that's the way that people understand it. Show the Carmel High video to see what could be possible. Check my log. I've been spamming it. Okay, dude. Here, my tax evasion accountant wants me to desperately watch the Carmel High video for you guys.
Welcome to Carmel High School.
Yeah, I've shown this before. Here's Carmel High.
Join us on a tour. This is the auditorium.
This is the Commons.
This is the catwalk. This is the planetarium.
This is senior hallway. This is our Carmel High School library.
This is the Carmel Cafe and Market.
This is the auto shop.
This is the wood shop.
Main cafeteria.
This is our 3-story freshman center.
This is CHTV.
This is our live radio.
This is the yearbook room. This is the Carmel Varsity Gym.
This is the new addition to the Hall of Fame. This is the freshman gym. This is the weight room.
This is the wrestling room, baby.
Yeah, you want to know why it's like this? Because it's an incredibly wealthy neighborhood. Yeah, this is Indiana, and it's also located in one of the wealthiest cities in the country. It looks like this because of private donors, not because the Indiana public school system is thriving. I know. It's not just private donors, though. It's also because of the way that taxation works. If you live in a high-income neighborhood, then you're paying higher property taxes. And, well, I don't know how it works in Indiana, but that's how it is in LA, for example, in California. And the higher property taxes that you pay for immediately go back to funding these schools. And that creates a major issue with underfunded areas. The Chicago public school system is a glaringly obvious example of this, okay? One of the greatest examples of that wealth disparity. Illinois and the Chicago exurb suburbs have some decent schools, okay? The Chicago public school system, on the other hand, is awful. And the reason why it's awful is because, lo and behold, the overwhelming majority of black and brown students inside of the state of Illinois goes to the Chicago public school system, okay? And they're coming from very poor neighborhoods. Those very poor neighborhoods are not capable of funding the public school system. And a competent state government or a competent federal government is supposed to look at that disparity and say, we need to desperately fund these schools and fix them, okay? The Chicago public school system is in a dire state. Classrooms are ginormous. Teachers are having to teach 40 students at a time. That's impossible to contend with, okay? Schools are also in desolate conditions too. Like straight up, they just look like schools from a dystopia, okay? They look like a zombie apocalypse hit it, and kids are still trying to go there. No after-school programs, or very limited after-school programs, okay? And then we wonder why kids that go through that structure don't actually, do anything positive. Bernie Sanders has talked about this with healthcare. There is an 8-year gap in like when people die in this country between the 1% and the rest of the country. Okay? Wealthy people in this country live on average 8 years longer. It's almost a decade longer, man. That's a decade longer in life expectancy. Think about that disparity. It's insane. It's insane. Do you think it is a consequence of culture or racial superiority? Or do you think it's a consequence of wealth disparity? It's wealth disparity, by the way. That is the answer. I'm not even going to let you entertain the other stuff. Okay? It is always and forever and always will be wealth disparity. With Kennedy, they might not make it to 5 years old. Yeah, I mean, yes. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the great unifier, okay? He's the great equalizer where he will make it illegal to vaccinate your children and then you'll die regardless, okay? Everyone get cholera. Raw milk only, okay?
This is the blue and gold gym. This is the blue and gold track.
This is the field house.
This is the varsity tunnel. This is the bookstore.
This is one of the many cooking rooms in the Carmel.
I just don't, like, Americans are so brain rotted by capitalism that they think, like, no, the only way we can reach this is through profiteering, through a profit incentivized structure. And it's so insane. They do this with, like, the U.S. Postal Service, too. It's like, no, man, it's not supposed to be for profit. You're delusional. You are so goddamn stupid, okay? Some things, can we just agree collectively? You don't have to be You don't have to be a card-carrying Marxist-Leninist, okay? You can just agree that some things are not supposed to be for profit, okay? Improving the quality of education for every single student, no matter which zip code they come from, no matter what finance they come from, is going to yield better outcomes for this country. And I can't seemingly find people to understand this reality. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it any further than I have. Okay? And if you make education a for-profit entity, then you arrive at this massive disparity. And then you sit around and you go, why is everyone so stupid? Why is everyone devoid of critical thinking skills? How do we get here? I wonder how. Because it's a literal pipe dream? Yeah, it's a literal pipe dream. So what's the solution? Give everyone millions of dollars? Is that what I said? Wealth distribution doesn't have to happen at the individual level, man. Americans are so goddamn hyper individualistic. They can't even imagine like government programs. They think like when I say wealth redistribution and improving the material conditions of all Americans across the board, they think, oh, just give me $10,000, please. That's not what I'm saying. I'm describing it in the process of schooling. Okay? Funding public education better is the solution. I am describing you the solution. You're just not hearing it. What do you mean? So what is the solution? That was my question. I've already given you the answer. You're just refusing to hear it. Anyway, it's not a pipe dream because it already exists in other countries, chatter. And of course, this is the part of the process where you say, well, Norway is homogenous. Or, and then I say China is not homogenous. And you say you don't know anything about China because you've only read like insane shit about how they're harvesting the organs of like children in schools or something. Okay. I've had this conversation a million times over. We can have it again if you want. Cultural homogeny has nothing to do with educational attainment. Okay. There are plenty of diverse nations out there that yield more positive educational outcomes than the United States of America, Canada being a great example of this, as a matter of fact. Okay. That's it. It's just money. The solution is just wealth disparity and fixing it. Okay. Yeah, Cuba, another great example. Cuba is an incredibly poor nation and also not even remotely homogenous, very diverse nation. And yet they have tremendously better outcomes in educational attainment. It's not just money. It absolutely is. It's the most important part of the problem. It's the most significant part of the problem. And anyone that tells you that it's not is actually just directing your attention away, either because they're deluded. Oh, you can't just use money as a problem solver. Okay. The other route in this argument is, well, there's still going to be people that don't want to actually do good education, even if like the schools are better funded. Okay. And that's not how the government works. It's not about literally making sure by force every single individual is maxing out their potential. Okay. It's about getting as many people as possible to max out their potential. And right now we're working in the opposite direction. I'm hoping for a reset, a cultural shift. A shift in attitude, a shift in government. Okay? And yes, money is everything, especially in this process, especially when we're looking at an American school that is well funded. But of course, for our ruling class, a well-educated proletariat is a genuine threat because if you're better educated, you're better equipped. I'll give you another example from immigration. Okay? ICE and that homunculus Thomas Homan has been chirping nonstop in general to mainstream outlets, right-wing mainstream resources, over and over again about how the radical leftists have been teaching undocumented immigrants how to avoid the authorities. And they're genuinely crying that the radical leftists and the Antifa are teaching undocumented migrants their rights. Okay? That's what they're upset about. Because they can't dominate them as hard as they want to when the people that they're trying to dominate, the people that they're trying to like break into the homes of, are well equipped with the limited amount of rights that they have in that process that the American government offers them. Isn't that crazy? Because they don't want you to be educated. That's it. Whether you're an undocumented migrant or a documented U.S. citizen, they just don't want you to be educated. They don't want you to be educated about your rights. They don't want you to be educated in general about what to do. They don't want you to exercise critical thinking skills. They don't want you to know that knowledge is power, not to, get all Sigma grindset on your ass. They want you to be stupid. because a stupid population is servile. A stupid population can be used and abused. A stupid population looks at planes falling out of the fucking sky and thinks, oh, this has nothing to do with air traffic control being consistently underfunded and forcing like 8 dudes to sit in a tower and do the job of like 40. Okay. That's probably not going to cause problems. You know what will cause the real problems? DEI. And if you're stupid, that shit's hard as fuck. You're like, God damn, you're right. Them blacks are working in the air traffic control and they're disabled. And I think that's the reason why. And it has nothing to do with the fact that now we're forcing 6 guys to do the job of 40. And you can't even translate that to your own immediate circumstances too, because that kind of austerity and that kind of profit seeking exists in every sector. So whether you're working in construction or whether you're working as a nurse or whether you're working as a goddamn teacher or whether you're working in any sector whatsoever, you probably are experiencing that in your daily life. The fact that your boss has fired some of the workforce and is now making you do the work of others that used to do that. Your burden is higher now at your job place, okay, at your job site. And if you can understand that in your immediate life, how can you not figure out that there is literally that exact same problem that exists in all of these other sectors as well, whether it be ATC, air traffic control, or any number of different regulatory agencies? That's it.